Are you looking for something that's good for your skin? A serum has SPF and also evens out your skin a little bit. Go ahead and keep watching. This might be it.
So as you're aware by the title, I am going to talk to you about what my thoughts are on the Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint Broad Spectrum SPF Sunscreen. It won the Allure 2020 Best of Beauty product winners and has active levels of skincare ingredients such as squalene, niacinamide, and also has hyaluronic acid in it. So all those kind of ingredients are supposed to have that extra boost to be able to have the good for you skincare product. So what are my thoughts on it? I'm going to share that in light of first give you the canvas of my skin so then you can put this review in that context here. I obviously have aged, experienced skin with fine, probably more than fine lines. My skin, especially during the summer, which it is right now, it tends to be more along the normal line with a little bit leaning towards a little bit of oiliness, and then in the winter it's drier. So currently right now I don't have those kind of dry patches, even though I do use a Retin-A every night, which tends to also sometimes bring about more dryness. But given the fact, again, I live in North Carolina, humidity level is a little bit higher, it is summertime, I'm leaning much more toward the oiliness. So given all that right now, I'm actually wearing right now the Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint. Sorry, I have to keep looking down. It's one of those long names. The broad spectrum serum on my skin right now. I actually have had to powder. I've got the light, so that's making it a little bit more oily-ish looking. But it's supposed to have that radiant finish, a dewy finish. It has very light coverage, and I will also make sure to re-emphasize that this is not a foundation. This is definitely a skin tint, and it is a very light skin tint. And you'll see when I insert my application of it, it does not cover up a lot. It does not even necessarily fully even out your skin to a great amount. However, it does give it a very nice radiant and dewy finish, just like it boasts, which for me leans a little bit more toward the little bit too oily-ish, because as the day progresses, I definitely got a little bit oilier and oilier, which didn't look as so glowy as it did initially. So keep that in perspective as well. Now I did powder, and I've actually powdered a little bit more again on top of that, a very light powder, just that the NARS translucent, which to me usually typically works very well and doesn't keep things being very cakey, but it does have a very light coverage as well. So why might you be interested in this product? Well, first of all, it's a light skin tint. It has a dewy, radiant finish, so it has that more kind of a glowy glow from within, sometimes they talk about, finish to it. It also has skincare embedded within it, and the SPF as well too. It is supposed to smooth the skin quite a bit, also plump it up, because it has those skincare products built within it, and it also has its SPF within it. The other side of it is it's very light. I feel it a little bit, but not a lot. So it's not one of those heavy kind of foundation feelings. It is not a foundation. I really want to put that up front. It is not a foundation. It is not a foundation. It's a skin tint. And on the skin tints, I'd say it has very lower level kind of coverage, that it puts a little bit of a color on you, but it doesn't give you a full nice coverage at all. So if you are trying to even out your skin tone a little bit and you have some deeper ruddiness in your skin, or like I have some slight acne scarring and some color texturization there, it's not going to really cover that up, and it won't even necessarily even that out. However, it does do some really nice things, as far as it does definitely not settle into wrinkles. It does not make it look worse. Like, I know if I wear foundation, I look worse typically than if I wear something more like a skin tint such as this. My typical approach is wearing a tinted SPF. and then putting a little concealer on, different variations of that. And then typically I do put a little tiny bit of powder on that. So, but this whole idea of skincare also embed within on top of the SPF is what drove me to it. So again, here's the nice packaging. I'm gonna pull this out so that you can kind of get an idea. It comes in a dropper bottle, not a glass one, a dropper bottle. I will put out there too, it makes it very clear you're supposed to really shake it. And it doesn't have like those nice shaker balls in it to where you get that nice sense of, okay, it's really mixing up well, but you can, because it's very liquidy, you can definitely tell when it's mixing up, but you are supposed to be very careful about shaking it quite vigorously before using it. And then of course, after you do that, you want to squeeze the pumper a few times so that your first pump isn't just pulling stuff that has not been nicely combined. So again, nice bottle. I had an extra label on the back, but on top there must have been some change in some ingredients or something else that they had to call out there. So then we pull this up, a dropper, and you can see how liquidy it is here. Now what I'm going to do, and this is give you a sense of you can see it running down my hand there. You can see it smoothing in. It is, for me, the kind of product, you can see that glowiness, that definitely absorbs into the skin, but it does so in one of those ways that you're still very conscious of it, at least at first especially. So it's not one of those that just goes and absorbed right into your skin right away. You know, those kind that just feel like, oh, and it just makes it feel like your skin is just wanting it, just soaks that up. This does not necessarily feel that way. And it does, at least for me, have almost the piece where it feels like it moves around a little bit as well too. It does need, they do recommend that you have to let it sit about 60 seconds or so to be able to fully oxidize enough. It's supposed to start out lighter at first and get just a little couple bare quarters of a shade darker as it does adjust to your skin and potentially, I guess you could say, dry down, although I never feel like it dries down. It does very much, for me, keep much of that kind of a sticky-ish feeling to it. Now, there's another thing that I have to talk about. It's unscented. However, it does definitely still have what they call a smell of the raw products with it. So you do need to be aware of that. To me, and I've read some reviews that found that kind of almost a little offensive. To me, it was nothing that was kind of, you definitely smell it. However, I'm also used to just SPF kind of smell, and it's not that kind of a smell. It's just, someone described it as dirty socks, and I definitely don't smell dirty socks, but it definitely does have kind of a more of an organic kind of scent to it. But that does dissipate pretty quickly in a short amount of time to where, like on my face now, I don't smell it at all anymore. It does really just retain, again, it still has quite a sticky feel on top of it when it still does have quite a tacky feel to it, which is also why, even if I wanted to keep the very dewy, glowy radiance, I would still very much probably want to put some powder on top of it, because I don't like that kind of a feel. Anytime you lean your hand, you put your phone on there, any of those kind of pieces there, and it does transfer. However, it also does not, even though I'm saying it feels like it moves around, it does not necessarily move around. It just has that sense to me that it's going to kind of move around. Maybe that's also because of the feeling that something oily tends to not adhere as well to your skin. But very light coverage. As you can see, my skin right now, I do have it on. I tried to build it up a little bit. It doesn't really necessarily build up. You do want to really apply it. It's a serum, so you do want to apply it with your fingertips and hands. I've read some people who have used a sponge to apply it. And when I have tried that, just to be totally honest, it didn't feel like it ever really meshed with my skin then. It really did feel like it was sitting on top there. So some real advantages to it. We are putting then some skincare. I've also read some reviews where people have not used a moisturizer. They've just used this because it has the squalene, which I actually really love squalene oil. I tend to apply that every other night, because I do notice that it does plump my skin up quite a bit. So it does have those good for your skincare ingredients in it. However, I still definitely applied moisturizer. and I still definitely apply another layer of SPF underneath there. And my reasoning for that is I'd like to layer my SPFs because I never feel 100% confident in just one layer of SPF if I'm going to be out and about. If I'm just inside and I still wear SPF, even if I'm just inside my house. But if I'm inside and not really frequenting going out very much, I might not feel like I have to wear it, although I still probably would. But if I know I'm out and about, I'm going out for long walks, I'm going to be outside by a pool, I'm going out on the boat, I definitely layer my sunscreen, layer on top of another sunscreen. So this is just another piece of that skincare part. So my thoughts now, and right now I am wearing the shade ST9 Paloma, which I did get color matched when I was at Sephora, which kind of sounds funny because it's a skin tint, and usually when things are a little bit lighter weight like that, you don't feel as tied into having to get the right skin tint. But I have to say, we went through several different ones before we found one that worked quite right. Some pulled me much more ruddier than others, so this one actually was the closest for me to be able to use and to be able to line up better with my skin. There are 30 shades, which is also important to be able to know. So I would highly recommend that you get matched, or if you do purchase the product through the Ilia website, I have also heard that if you get the wrong one, that they will make sure that they get the correct match to you. And I've actually even heard, not confirmed, that they will let you keep the version that you had, so you don't have to worry about sending back the other version to them. So, but just be aware that there are 30 shades, and even though it's a light skin tint, you do want to be very carefully monitoring your color match there. So my final thoughts on the Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint Broad Spectrum SPF 40. It's not really my favorite. I think I feel much better with some of my other SPFs. And if I was going to be using this to get a little bit higher level of coverage, like if I was going to be putting this on top of a tinted SPF, or I would probably err to the side of applying either more concealer or a light foundation on top rather than layering this on top. It didn't make me like sing and dance. I don't feel like I like the way it looked on my skin. It certainly didn't feel like it necessarily aged my skin like some other foundations can do. Again, it's not a foundation, but as some other products could do. But it wasn't making me feel 100% confident that this could be my own SPF. And I really wasn't in love with what turned out on me to be a very radiant, oily kind of finish on my skin. And I ended up then feeling very conscious of it all day long, making sure that it wasn't too glowy. And a couple times I almost felt like I was gonna have to touch up during the middle of the day, and I don't want to get into that piece there. I want to be able to put my makeup on in the morning. The only thing I ever want to maybe touch up is putting on some chapstick or some lip gloss or something because my lips feel dry. I don't want to be carrying around a powder compact with me to be able to have to worry about that. So with all that said, that kind of gives you a different picture about how I'm feeling about this product. So I think with drier skin, if I was trying this in more of the winter, then I might have a slightly different sense to it. However, I don't think I would use this again on its own this way. It doesn't quite have enough coverage. I get more coverage from some of my tinted SPFs or my tinted moisturizers than I did from this. So it would just be almost an extra step. And I just have to keep going back, that stickier, tackier feeling, like I'm still have that same kind of, it doesn't seem to go away as much on my skin, and that's probably the context of my skin there too. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, and if it helps guide you on whether or not you want to be able to take a plunge and try it, or the idea is to make sure you get a sample first before trying it. And on that line, if you do get a sample, like from Sephora or another beauty counter, do make sure that they do that thing of shaking that up really well, putting in a container, and then make sure when you go to use it that you do that same thing. There has to be enough in there that you can also shake up in those small containers. And you know, sometimes the sample that I got from Sephora was actually so small that I could not have shaken it, shook it up well enough to be able to feel confident that mixed up enough. So do make sure you get enough that you have the capacity to be able to mix it properly before. So I hope that this has been helpful and helps guide you in your decisions on where you want to be able to go. Drop down below your thoughts. Have you tried this? Have you found tricks to be able to make it work for you that maybe you would also recommend that I try as well too? And if this is leaning you more toward the side of making sure you get a sample first rather than buying it, instead of one of those that you just take the plunge and buy, then again, I hope that this has been helpful. I look forward to hearing your comments. Till next time.